Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Sunday, June 18th, around 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 2023. Earlier today, this morning, we had an M2.5 solar flare with a coronal mass ejection. The good news, it is not headed towards Earth. The big story is thousands without power as storms roll through the south. Keep calm. It's boom time. Now, there were thousands and thousands of people without power earlier today, nearly 8,000 in Wichita alone. Here was the map about 7 hours ago, 500,000 people without power in Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Texas alone. Let's refresh that and see if it's got worse or better. A little bit better there, 450,000 without power, and more storms are forecast for tonight. Tornado watch for the Mid-South until early Monday morning. And here is the risk zone. Jackson, Mississippi, right in the center, all the way east to Camden and west to Cotton Valley. So heads up Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama. You are in the risk zone. Now, what's behind the giant hail that's pelted the south? Well, it's record-breaking, in fact.
Crashing down, and look at the damage it caused in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Just shattered windshields, window.
Dented, the amount of damage that was done, not just there, but across such a big chunk of the country.
Right.
I was saying it yesterday. I feel like because we've seen so many days of this in a row, and it's so unusual to see this in June, we've almost been desensitized to what that is.
Exactly.
We've actually taken a look now at these are the 2-inch hailstones?
Yes, so we've got 2-inch hailstones right here just to show you, and I'd give it to you, but you don't have gloves. Okay, you're gonna go for it.
You have the special Fox and Friends gloves.
I got the Fox and Friends gloves on. But yeah, so when you think about this, okay, so 2 inches. I mean, this is pretty large, all right?
Yeah.
We saw literally double this size.
Yes.
I mean, just massive to think about.
But also consider the velocity that these are falling out of the storms just from gravity, plus the wind gusts up over 90 that were produced.
So these hailstones literally broke records. It was a week of giant hail. Take a look at all the locations where 4 and 5-inch hail. 4-inch hail was reported for 4 straight days, 15 total reports. And 5-inch hail was reported for 3 straight days. This is way above the average, which is exactly what we predicted about 8 years ago when we started the channel, that the hail size and the ferocity of these storms would be increasing, and they certainly are. That is beyond a shadow of a doubt. Here's the full forecast. Sweltering heat, severe storms and heavy rain in the southern U.S. A blistering heat wave with excessive heat warnings and heat advisories will continue to affect Texas, the nexus of the Schmexis, and portions of the southern U.S. this weekend. Meanwhile, strong to severe thunderstorms and heavy to excessive rainfall will be common in the next few days in the southeastern U.S., as well as tornado watch and warning and large hail. So put your helmets on. You can see here as we just move this through 3 hours, 6 hours, those locations where that severe weather may be popping up as it moves into Florida by Tuesday, which will be their lose day. Now, have you heard the Donnie Creek wildfire in northeast British Columbia, now the largest recorded in the province's history? The blaze southeast of Fort Nelson covers nearly 5,344 square kilometers and remains out of control. The good news is that precipitation is falling in the region. There we can see the size of that fire. Holy macaroni. Just north of Fort St. John. And there's another large fire up here on the Yukon border. But overall, the amount of fires in Canada has been drastically reduced since about 3 weeks ago. Now, Mexico's southern Baja California peninsula was rattled today by a 6.3 earthquake, but it was way out in the middle of the Baja Bay. So the Bay of California, there was no one out there, and no one in Cabo was injured. That's good news. There is that rumbler, 6.4, showing up 100 kilometers east-southeast of La Rivera, Mexico. No other quakes of note. We have a moderate popping off here, 5 magnitude in Karluk, Alaska, and shortly ago, 6 magnitude in the mid-ocean ridge south of Africa. Worldwide volcano news update. There is nothing spectacular to report on normal activity. Nevado de Ruiz to 21,000 feet. Fuego, Popo, Reventador, Mayon, and Sangay all puffing. And Kilauea continues to erupt. Now, earlier today, 12 hours ago, we had a M2.5 coming from active region 3336. There is the flare in question. It was in the southern hemisphere, and the flare peaked at 1353 UTC. It appears to have produced a small coronal mass ejection based here on LASCO C2, which I generated for your pleasure. So keep an eye on here at about the 14 mark. That is the CME in question. Small one out here, small CME, and then that boom, that M2.5 down and south and away from Earth. Now, scientists are conducting the first test of a wireless cosmic ray navigation system. The system could be used to guide underwater or underground robots. So if you're interested in that stuff, the article will be linked below, so go get it. Now, it's official. Neanderthals created art. New evidence from caves in Spain shows that Neanderthals engaged in complex symbolic thought and were pretty good artists to boot. It's a very interesting article. It's a few years old, but they literally found these Neanderthal handprints, and it is eerie. There are, in fact, 3 hand stencils, center right, center top, and top left, on this wall in Spain's Maltrevieso cave. One of them is at least 66,000 years old and made by Neanderthals. Now, if you didn't know, on this day in history, June 18th, 1983, astronaut Sally Ride became the first American woman in space. Astronaut Sally Ride became the first American woman in space on this day. Born May 26, 1951 in Los Angeles, Ride earned her bachelor's degree in English and physics from Stanford University in California before staying at Stanford and earning a PhD in physics in 1978. Shortly before entering her doctorate, Ride saw an ad in a newspaper that piqued her interest. NASA was recruiting for astronauts, and for the first time, they would include women in its astronaut class. And there it is. History was made. Now, we were talking about Kilauea, which is currently erupting. They've done some interesting paleomagnetic studies there, and here you're looking at the paleomagnetic secular variation curve for the past 2,000 years. And you can see where we presently are here at the X. What does that mean? Well, Earth's magnetic North Pole is moving. It's rapidly racing towards Siberia. After the Carrington event in 1859, the next year, 1960, the North and South Pole began to move. The North Pole began to rapidly move. There's the shift right there. And it began accelerating in the last decade. It is now racing towards Siberia, and here is the 2025 predicted position. And so we're somewhere right in the middle of these two spots. There was a little slowdown in the movement of the geomagnetic pole, but it's picked back up a little. So we should get a world magnetic model update at least by 2025 at the latest, but maybe next year. So stay tuned for the boom. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. And please, the most important thing you can do is share this video, as we are shadow banned because they don't want people to know the truth.